Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the brand new Marvel Spider-Man deal. We'll be talking about Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We'll also be talking about the Mandalorian and a number of bits and pieces connected to that, and a load of other bits and pieces in the news for the past week regarding Disney Plus. A quick bit of housekeeping before we go any further. Big shout out to Julie, who has become our first Patreon over at patreon.com/whatsondisneyplus.com. So big thank you to Julie for helping out, supporting us on that. And you can do the same, obviously, on Patreon and also YouTube memberships. I'd like to say that as well. Obviously, we're now, about 6 weeks away plus from Disney Plus launching. So we're getting into that nice bit. And there was a number of questions this week about going, what are you going to do when it launches? It's like, that's what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, we're going to shut everything down and we're done. And that's it. Yeah. Because nothing happens after launch.
So we'll be talking, obviously, about the new shows. We'll be giving our thoughts on what's going on. We'll be updating you on what's been added, talking about the new shows. Because the train of new shows and movies is still going to continue to flow on after it launches. It's just, don't worry about that. That's been the whole point. We've been waiting for to actually. It's that kind of cool thing, really. I can't wait to really get to the point where we're talking about new originals and all the rest of it. So that's coming up soon. So before we jump into the news, quick bit of first things. What have you been watching this week?
The only thing I've watched this weekend, this is at all. It's been another week of not watching stuff, was the original Clue movie with Tim Curry and all those guys. That's it. And
because they've announced that Fox is working on a new version of that with Ryan Reynolds and I never even knew that movie existed, to be honest, until
It's really funny because it's a movie that really shouldn't be any good at all. I mean, it's based on a board game. It's a comedy murder mystery, but it's one of those movies that's actually really, really good. And not to go too far into it, because this isn't the main thing about it. We're not actually going to talk about Clue on this one. But, this past week, the question came up, should they remake Princess Bride? That was one of the big things doing Twitter. And everyone was like, no, do not make Princess Bride. Which I agree with. It had that kind of like perfect, just like synergy of time where all the right actors popped into it, and it was its own project.
I've never seen it.
That's perfectly fine too.
I know Andre the Giant's in it. That's all I know.
Andre the Giant, Corey Ools. Sorry, was it Carrie Ools? Either way, it was just like this perfect whirlwind of like casting and timing and acting, and it was just a really good movie, and it does not need to be remade. And when Clue popped up and they were talking about Jason Bateman and Ryan Reynolds and all this, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to be able to do it again, because either you're going to make an entirely new movie out of Clue, in which case you're starting from scratch with you're making a movie out of a board game. Good luck. Or you do it as an homage to the original, in which case you're like, well, I'll just watch the original. So, I don't know.
I'm going to add one little thing. As a Brit, we call it Cluedo over here. We don't call it Clue. So it was one of those things of it came up and then go, Clue? What's that? Oh, it's a movie. It's like, oh, is it? It's like, no, we call it Cluedo. We have an entirely different name for it over here.
We speak the same language. Why did you add a D to the name? I don't get that one.
Yeah, I don't know, Cluedo. So
whatever.
Strange.
Anyway, that's what I watched. It was the original. It's not the new one because the new one's not out. It was really funny. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and there was so much that went over my head as a kid. The comedy holds up. The acting really holds up. Tim Curry just is fantastic in it. I really hope it actually ends up on Disney Plus. I don't know who owns the rights to it. I don't know if it's a Fox movie, but if they're going to do a remake in theaters or whatever, I'd love to have the original on there as well.
Yeah. I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 on Disney Plus, obviously the trial in Netherlands. So we're running through that. So there's quite a few episodes until I hit a point where I went on to the next episode and I'm going, what? The recap? Well, like the thing of like a recap doesn't make any sense. And then I looked and realized there was 5 episodes missing. So I obviously raised a thing on Twitter all season 5 was removed. I don't know if it's been added again as of this morning, but yeah. So there was an issue. This is why there's a trial going on. Ooh,
Whoops.
no. It's a catastrophe.
Yes, it was. Unrelated to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 5 missing.
So that was removed. This is why there was a trial going on. So I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a bit. Also was watching some of the X-Men, the original 1990s animation series. Been watching that on there. Also started watching One Strange Rock from National Geographic with Will Smith, which is it's been a really good, nice little series. And I've sometimes like jumping into the National Geographic stuff because that's kind of new to me. I haven't seen a lot of the stuff that's on there. But yeah, so that's been kind of me jumping around a bit on Disney Plus this week.
The one little rock. That's a new one for me. I assume it's about Earth.
It's a really well made sort of documentary series. Will Smith is presenting it. So definitely check that one when it comes onto Disney Plus. So there's a couple more episodes to go, but I'm going to be going through all that series this week. So let's jump into the big news of the week. Spider-Man. Spider-Man is back into the MCU for a smidge. He's going to have a brand new movie by himself coming out July 16th, 2021. Going to be done with Marvel Feige. He's obviously very, very busy. And he's also going to be appearing in one other Marvel Cinematic Universe one. So that's the movie that will be on Disney Plus. We don't know what's going on, obviously, with the Sony movies with regards to Disney Plus. Put that in there now. 2 movies. This kind of felt a little bit along the lines of they've been renegotiating. One of the big deals is apparently 25% is the number that they hit. Disney are going to be putting in 25% of the costs, but they're going to be taking 25% of the profits. So that's much better than 5% of day one. That's for them, so they're going to be getting something back. But it does seem a very short little process, but the internet did rejoice in the fact that we've got a little bit more Tom Holland in the MCU for a little bit longer. But I was a little bit like, it's not very long. But there's a lot changing in the minute with Sony.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but it is a gesture of good faith on both sides. We don't know what the back boardroom politics look like. We don't know who capitulated to who. Obviously, you can base it on the reports. Marvel was originally, we want 50-50. Sony was like, no, we want the original contract, which is the 5% one. I don't think that's ever actually been like completely corroborated, but that's what most people believe. If it's a 25-75 cut, that would make sense. That's about in the middle of those. Not exactly in the middle. I know 5 isn't 0, but close enough. And I have to assume that they're going to be working on a more permanent one, because no matter how the negotiations go, both sides want this to happen. Sony realizes they get a lot more out of it by having Spider-Man in the MCU, and of course Marvel wants to have one of their biggest characters in the MCU. And that was it.
It's a bit of it feels very kind of like a small, doesn't seem very long, but obviously that might get them through till 2022, so it gives them 3 years maybe to kind of get out of it and kind of sort out what they're doing. There was a kind of, I think, wording about the fact that him maybe appearing in the Sony movies. Whether or not that interconnects it all with the MCU, it's a bit messy, but I definitely feel like they need this third movie. If they're going to end it, I think they need that third movie to kind of end it properly, because obviously Far From Home ended on a kind of a bombshell that needs to be fixed. So they need that third movie to try and sort that out, and otherwise it would be a mess. So I'm really glad that they've done this. It also now means everyone can kind of just relax a little bit with the Spider-Man stuff for a few years. We know we've got a movie coming in like nearly 2 years' time, and we've got that other movie, obviously, which I think will be an Avengers movie, which might either close up at the end of Phase 4, or maybe kick off Phase 5, but it might be why they held off reviewing it. Doesn't mean in 2021 we are going to be very busy for Marvel. We've got 4 movies and we've got a number of TV series. It's going to be packed. It's going to be a nice busy year that year. But yeah, it's just, I think it's just everyone can just go, right. But it'll obviously kick up again when we've had those 2 movies out. But 3 to 4 years at the minute in the world of business in terms of streaming and movies could make a massive difference, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it gives them a chance to finish off the plot lines that were established in Far From Home. Depending on how negotiations go the rest of the way, we could see his role in the Avengers in the MCU have an underline under it where they kind of just tie it off. Or if the negotiations go well, he ends up taking that leadership role that they've been hinting at since Endgame with Far From Home. So
Yeah.
we'll see. And I think, honestly, the story arc is going to depend entirely on the negotiations one way or another.
Because the big thing that kind of is really floating around at the minute, and it's Sony Pictures. They have been saying, we're not for sale, we're not for sale. There's a lot of talk of basically somebody coming in at the minute and picking up Sony Pictures, because all the big companies are all kind of in an arms race to get as much content as possible. And there's a lot of people looking at Apple going, would they pick up Sony Pictures because A, they get their back catalog, but also get productions, and maybe even Sony. I mean, there's a kind of constant joke, a meme about the fact that Sony won't give Spider-Man to Disney, and Disney just goes, well, how much for Sony? That kind of sort of thing. And if Sony is Sony Pictures, this is the thing, Sony Pictures, not like Sony Hi-Fi's and PlayStation, Sony Pictures, if that gets sold, the movie rights will revert back to Marvel. So there's a kind of thing of, from Sony's point of view, no point doing massive contracts. They can't go to anybody else because of the contracts. It's all a bit messy, but there's this kind of weird thing going on. There's a lot of people looking at Sony Pictures going, as a real, I won't say risk, but risk of being purchased because somebody, Comcast, Warner, or Disney, or Apple, or anyone is looking at content. And Sony at the minute are making a ton of money selling to everybody else. I mean, look at the Seinfeld deal that they recently did with Netflix. They are now looking to everybody else going, well, you can buy this and you can buy that, and you can buy this to the highest bidder. But yeah, and I'm also hoping that maybe with this new deal, I don't think they went too much into it, but hoping maybe some distribution systems get changed up a bit, give Disney Plus and Disney access to those movies. That would be a nice little add-on, but we obviously are just speculating on that right now. But yeah, it was nice it was a bit of a short contract that they've obviously done. 2 movies doesn't sound a lot, but just maybe keep the wolves away for a bit.
It's only 2 movies, but it is positive news nonetheless. And yeah, to talk on the would Disney buy Sony, I don't think they would at the moment. I mean, not only did they just spend a lot of money on the Fox deal, but they would become very much at risk of serious accusations of a monopoly at that point. Now, technically, it would not be because there are still other competitors, and the market does not close to other new competitors, which is at least the majority of the definition here in the States for a monopoly. But there is no denying they would have a very large amount of content relative to their competitors. So it probably would be best to not court that, especially if they don't even need to buy it for Spider-Man. Obviously, Spider-Man, like X-Men in the Fox deal, would still be just like a footnote in the main bit. It's still an important one, and so without that, it's less of an important factor for them.
Yeah, it's a thing. I think that everyone is looking at Apple as the primary one because they've got a big bucket full of Scrooge McDuck money, and the idea really is that they need some content, they need some production, because they're making all this stuff for their Apple TV, and they're asking for money for it. But obviously, as well, everyone's looking at it going, "You've got no back catalog. You've got nothing. Everything is original," and they're kind of pushing that as being different. But I think everybody else is looking and going, "You got nothing. You got nothing." Sony would give the trouble is with Sony is they have been really, if you take away Spider-Man, they've been really struggling for big hits, and especially in the last few years. So it's a bit of an odd one, really. I mean, I don't know. I think this will get sorted. I mean, Sony might look at it the other way of going, well, if we're going to lose Spider-Man, we might as well make some money off it in the process. But yeah, who knows? I mean, that's why it's such a short-term deal, I think. It gives them a chance to work out a longer deal, something, and work out what's going on. Because we've got these live action TV series, we've got all these bits and pieces, these animated movies and stuff. Sony needs to work with Marvel on all of this stuff, because if they don't, Marvel can really kind of put a scotch on it if they stop promoting Spider-Man. If they're not on board, Sony will struggle. Because, I mean, you look at Into the Spider-Verse and Venom, Marvel were kind of with them a bit. They were helping them, they were promoting it and getting all the merchandise and all the rest of it. When you look what happened with X-Men, once Disney were able to really kind of push that kind of the elbow on that franchise while they didn't get on with Fox.
Well, they tried to anyway. I mean, there was definitely an impact on, say, the video games where the X-Men weren't showing up in games, but it wasn't something that people didn't notice or gloss over, which is, I think, what Marvel really wanted. They wanted people to forget that Wolverine was in Marvel versus Capcom and that he wasn't showing up in these other games and so on. And then they wanted people, of course, to put pressure on Fox to get it done, neither of which happened.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think trying to tank Spider-Man the way they tried to tank the Fantastic Four and the X-Men would just be a losing proposition all around. They're still feeling the after effects of like trying to destroy the X-Men. And the Inhumans, once the X-Men deal was done, the Inhumans just disappeared, like flat out, because that's what they were there for. They were supposed to be the X-Men replacements while they didn't have the rights. So they could try, but I think the only people who would lose in that case are fans and Marvel itself. That said, building on something else you said there, Marvel is the only company so far that has had continued success in the superhero market. They really seem to have found the way to tell the stories. Now you can argue, it's because they don't take too many risks with the stories. They tend to follow a formula. Definitely true up through at least Thor 2, maybe Avengers Age of Ultron, something like that. They've kind of branched out more in recent years, but even those tend to be fairly safe, and they follow a formula. Say what you will, it works. But we've seen the X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, all the DC properties, pretty much everything else. Some are great, and some of them you look at and go, who greenlit this? And who let it go all the way through to like in the theaters? So say what you will about, say, Iron Man 3, Thor 2, stuff like that. None of them are actively like, Marvel, why did you do this?
Yeah.
So
now it's going to be interesting where they go forward with the Spider-Man deal. But yeah, I think it's just nice to kind of have that thing. And it's just kind of this constant battle with the general public, I think, of the misunderstandings of what's going on with this deal. For example, on the Icons and Avatar video that I put up a few weeks ago, the amount of comments about the fact of Spider-Man being in it, they'll have to remove it and all the rest of it. And so I think no, Marvel still owns Spider-Man. It's like this kind of weird thing of like, so people just put the movies and Sony have got the rights to it, and it's like, no, it's not. It's that thing of, no, Marvel still owns Spider-Man. They still have he is still their character. They can do with him what they like, except for in live action. That's the difference. That's the only thing that they can't do. They can do what they want on apps, video games, comic books. Any of that is there. They can do what they want with that character. Only the movies. And I think, we get asked a lot, what about this movie? Why isn't this movie on this? It's like, well, this is where the contract comes in. It's just really good now in some ways that we've only got this one issue, where the whole Fox side of things is now gone. It makes it life a lot easier because there is now only just one issue. I mean, you get things like Daredevil and Jessica Jones get brought up a few times, but that one's quite easy. You can just turn around and go, it's a 2-year thing. Once that's done, then that will be, they can do what they want with it. But I want to jump into a little bit of Marvel news that we also heard this week, was that Hulu have apparently not decided to go ahead with the Ghost Rider series that they announced earlier this year, which is going to star Gabriel Luna. Apparently it's created differences, and they decided not to go ahead with it. But there's also been lots of rumors about Marvel Studios maybe wanted to do something with Ghost Rider, and that could have been one of the reasons for it. I'll be honest, I didn't really like when all this stuff that Hulu are doing, that Ghost Rider, Hellstrom, Offenders, it feels like Marvel television has become this like weird side project that doesn't seem to be connected to the rest of Marvel. And I'll be honest, I was kind of like, yeah, we're going into a new world with like Disney Plus TV series, and I don't think this Hulu stuff really is going to cut it. I think that Runaways and stuff, you're either in MCU or you don't bother. I think that's going to be the way forward on this.
Yeah, they need to get rid of the wishy-washy, is this or isn't this? I mean, I always went in with all of these shows, Runaways, Cloak and Dagger, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, etc., with the assumption that they were part of the MCU. And even if they kind of retroactively say, no, maybe alternate reality, whatever, do kind of what DC is doing where they've got the Justice League over here, but you've also got the Flash show, which is a completely different Flash and so on. I'd prefer if they would just kind of say, you know what, Cloak and Dagger is still part of the MCU, but the characters are off just living their lives now.
Yeah, the big thing for me, like, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to me is like, no, that is MCU. You've got a character that appeared in all the movies. It was a spin-off. They even had Nick Fury in the series. You've had the events of Civil War slide over into the things. I don't know what happened with Endgame because I haven't got there yet. But
nothing happened with Endgame.
But there's this kind of thing of it went off into space and all the rest of it, and the Inhumans and all the rest. But to me, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is part of the MCU, regardless, because of it was positioned as events of Dark World affected the show and all the rest of it. Things get a little bit more tricky, like with the Runaways could be in a completely separate universe. You would never know about it. Cloak and Dagger make references to Luke Cage, and obviously they've got that upcoming link up with the Runaway. So, and then even in Jessica Jones and stuff, that they've got Captain America icons up, and they mention the event in New York, and it's like, well, you can't mention the event that happened in New York and show a kid with a Captain America. You're making references to it. You're in it. That's the kind of the thing. Whereas like, something like Legion was completely separate. You knew it was nothing a part of it.
Right, and they kind of leave themselves open here, unless they want to bring in a new Luke Cage, a new Jessica Jones, a new Daredevil with different actors, but still with the same backstory. So you have a new Matt Murdock, not played by Charlie Cox, I think was his name.
Yeah.
That creates a problem because now you've got two Matt Murdocks. But as long as they don't do that, as long as they don't have another Luke Cage running around or another Jessica, there's nothing that stops these from still being in the MCU, even if they never make another Defenders or Defenders spin-off show. And that's kind of where we're at with that. So to get us back to Ghost Rider, which is where we started, this was one of those shows they announced back then and just kind of forgot about. But if it had come out, I would have enjoyed it because I did enjoy his portrayal on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The actor was very good. I liked the way they did the character. There were some interesting plot threads that they left dangling at the end of his appearances there. But at the same time, it disappearing, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. I'm not too concerned about this one. At least they didn't announce Nick Cage would be taking over the role. That's just the one good part.
Yeah. I mean, I personally feel like this series, like if they carried on with the same tone that they had in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it could have been a Disney Plus series. I just wonder if they may be looking at Hulu and going, what are they doing with it? And it was a bit like, what are you doing with Hulu and Marvel? It's like you're setting up this whole thing with Disney Plus, and then you're kind of doing all this weird stuff on Hulu that really doesn't make any sense because you can't announce 8 series for Disney Plus and then kind of randomly drop these 2 random series in. It feels to me like they're kind of clearing the decks a bit. Going, mate, this isn't right. We need to put everything under Marvel Studios. This is what the people want. But I'm sad on one way, but if it means the Ghost Rider kind of stays in the MCU and they do something different with it, I think that's just for the better. I just don't think Marvel needs to split its audience into different factions again.
Yeah, and it's not even Marvel splitting into factions because it was bad enough when X-Men were off on their own, Fantastic Four were off on their own. We still get questions. Why isn't Batman in the Avengers? When is Superman going to cross over with Captain America? And we're like, yeah, it can't really happen. It's confusing enough just keeping Marvel and DC separate for a lot of people.
All I kept thinking of this week is my feed has just been filled with this Infinite Earth stuff for DC for this upcoming TV series, where it's like we're grabbing every single one from the past and put them in, and they're all from alternate universes, and you're going, man, are you going to make this so complicated? It's like I gotta watch this train wrecking TV series just because of the amount of people that are in it. But yeah, it's that kind of thing of like, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go on with all this Marvel stuff.
Yeah, we won't talk about the DC stuff. I'm actually really looking forward to it, but the chances of it being a train wreck are very good. That said, I think it will be a fun train wreck because they have the shows, unlike the movies, have a much more entertaining tone for the most part. Anyway, back to Marvel.
Nevertheless. Anyway, well, let's kick over now into the Star Wars territory. So yesterday we had it officially announced by Disney that I think it was Deborah Chow is going to be taking on the role as the director of the upcoming Star Wars series, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Looks like she's actually going to be the only director, because the way they kind of worded it, which I think is good. Because I think that's going to be the issue with The Mandalorian, of having lots of different directors. I think one person running it is going to be better. Kathleen Kennedy said, we really want to select an actor who's able to explore both the quiet determination and rich mystique of Obi-Wan in a way that folds seamlessly into the Star Wars saga. Based on our phenomenal work developing our characters in The Mandalorian, I'm absolutely confident Deborah is the right director to tell this story. That says to me she's doing the whole season.
I don't know. We'll have to wait for an official announcement. I would prefer if they did a single director per season. That's the British style. European style is normally to have the single director, single writer kind of situation for shorter shows.
Well, if you're doing only 6 or 8 episodes, it makes sense kind of to have that.
But it is the American style. It's what we've been using in television for decades, if not like since the beginning of television, where for whatever reason you get different directors for different episodes. I've never really been a big fan of it, but at the same time, Hollywood has such a vast amount of experience doing it now that it's normally not that bad. It's generally pretty seamless, and that's normally because there's a single showrunner who, even though he or she is not directing all the episodes, they're at least making sure that there's a continuity.
Yeah, it's always just like there's always this like weird thing for me of like this kind of thing of like say like the showrunner of like obviously running the show and keeping everything, and they're making it. And it's like kind of like, well, if you have a director running the whole season, you kind of don't need a showrunner because they are the showrunner. Right. And it's that kind of thing, like you say, when the Americans do like 22 episodes, you kind of need that continuity. But I can understand that thing of it's too much for one director to do the whole lot. Whereas, like you say, I've always had, here in the UK, we have a lot of short series. Most of our series are 3 to 6 to 8 episodes. And I think because I'm more used to that system, I'm constantly watching seasons and shows that are short, and you have 3 episodes or 6 episodes, done, dusted. And like you say, having one director means that they all have that same feel, they all have the same camera shots. They have all, rather than just, I think that's the trouble, like with a lot of American TV shows, where you suddenly have like an entirely different way of it looking. I mean, I was watching an episode of New Amsterdam yesterday, suddenly having these weird flashback moments with like different text coming up and going, this just doesn't fit in with every episode I've seen before. And like you say, different directors have different ways of doing it.
Yeah, continuity of vision is an interesting topic within the movie and television making business, more television, obviously. Like I said, especially on shorter stuff like this, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, the various Marvel shows, I would have preferred a single director with a single vision going all the way through. But we'll see. I mean, obviously we have not seen any of the Mandalorian yet. It could be perfectly fine. I actually have high hopes because the directors involved are generally very high quality. I did think of a movie example, and it ties in here too. Star Wars, the current trilogy. Director J.J. Abrams in 7. I can't even remember his name right now because
Rian Johnson.
It annoys me. Yep, him as number 8. And even just with those 2 movies, not counting Rise of Skywalker coming later this year, the vision, the tone, the plots, the ideas, the themes of Last Jedi and Force Awakens, regardless of which ones you like or don't like, are completely different, and it is a very jarring tone shift between the 2 movies.
Yeah, and that's a prime example really of what happens when it shifts. And also, you look at things like Solo, where the directors and stuff will change during the movie and stuff. They do have a big impact on where it all goes. But nice to see some official news coming for the Obi-Wan. Regarding the Mandalorian series, we had 2 brand new posters that got revealed showing off the characters. We've really been seeing this week because we have the Triple Force Friday reveal of all the new merchandise which is coming out on this coming Friday, October the 4th. We had tons of new stuff revealed. We had new Funko Pop vinyls. We had new Hasbro Black Series action figures. We've got a new Lego set. So we got to see a lot more of the characters. So this has been cool. They've also showed us stuff for the new video game. They also showed off new toys for Rise of the Skywalker. But the Mandalorian ones were definitely one we were interested in because not only that, it gave us a little bit more information about the characters. And yeah, so the question is, did you have a look at all the new merchandise that they revealed?
I did. I looked at all the merchandise. Legos were my my focus because anyone who's listened to Diz Kingdom in the past knows that Legos are my go-to toys. There was only one Mandalorian set, which is an ATST with a very interesting camo color scheme going on. Kind of cool, actually. Not sure I'll get that, but it is a cool bit. The action figures, though, actual action figures, not talking about the Lego minifigures here, look pretty cool. They had I don't know how to pronounce
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune? Is that how they're saying it?
Yeah.
Anyway, the woman from Deadpool, who's also a wrestler, right? Gina Carano?
No, she is a mixed martial arts.
I should correct myself on that. I thought she was a wrestler.
No, she
WWE,
also
but
she wasn't WWE, but she was mixed martial arts. But she also was, I think, like an American Gladiator.
Maybe that's
she was in that or something. Yeah, but she's obviously just very physically fit, and that's why it's been important.
And she was good in Deadpool too. I mean, it wasn't a huge role, but she was good in that. So glad to see her. The action figure looks good. The action figure for the Mandalorian himself looks good. That's actually all I remember. Most of the other side characters didn't really show, except IG-88. IG-88 showed up a couple times.
There is going to be 4 pop vinyls. I
didn't see those.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Well, the thing is, we've kind of known about these for a little bit because they released the Mandalorian back at the D23 Expo, and then kind of on the back of the box you could see the other characters, so you knew that you were going to be getting. There was this kind of weird character. I'm gonna see what his name is. Then you've got IG-11, which obviously is a different character to IG-88, but it's right. Let's have a look. See what we had yesterday revealed with blog. It's definitely, I think, a good thing for them to go forward. I've just releasing all this bits and pieces. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if we have some more merchandise come after the TV series comes along. But for now, this is all we're going to be getting. I'm going to go out and see what I can find on Friday. I'm going to go out, I think, before work and see if I can pick anything up. And then maybe after work, go in and see if I can pick anything up. I'm going to definitely going to pick up the Mandalorian pop vinyl because I think that one definitely looks good. There's also some weird looking merch by the looks of it coming in. There's like t-shirts. Oh, here we go. They didn't actually put the names of the characters. Yeah, there's this pig character guy, the guy that's sort of riding the big ride along kind of thing.
Right.
Or what?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Hopefully you're going to overlay a little bit of video here so people
here we go. Kalali, Kuiil is the name of this like pig-looking character kind of thing. So I might pick up IG 11 as well if I see it. I'm really torn on the Lego set. I do like the fact that there's only one Lego set for the whole things, and then you're going to have that walker, which kind of reminded me a bit of like Sabine Wren, where she's with to use graffiti on her X-wing.
That's what I was
on a TIE fighter. Sorry, on a TIE fighter. So that's where that kind of got in for me, because I am probably going to pick this up because I'm going to want, eventually when my new studio gets built, I'm going to want some stuff behind me. So kind of some Mandalorian stuff, kind of with things, and I like the idea of having that ATST. And if you don't put the stickers on, you just got a standard walker. So,
The only thing I'm going to look for is probably the A-Wing, but that's not from The
Yeah.
Mandalorian. That's from Rise of Skywalker. The other one that I might keep an eye out for is one of the posters. I liked both of the posters, so I'd be happy with either. However, I did like the one that was just the Mandalorian in kind of like a coming at you action pose. So if I can find that, then I'd be happy to pop that up back here. But I think, at least from the article I read on the website, our website, was that it's only available through a specific online retailer.
Yeah.
I hope that restriction kind of goes away. So I'm not expecting to see it this Friday. But I'm going to be keeping my eye out for a good Mandalorian poster because honestly, it looks really cool. So
yeah, it's like I said, so it should be fun to see what's going on with Triple Force Friday. They've got all this like new merch and stuff coming out. I mean, some way it's good. I think it's like the Mandalorian stuff's really gonna either. It's what it's like when the series comes out of like when people, if they start liking the character, that's when you're gonna start kind of jumping in on this. You know, the thing is with any Star Wars merchandise of years of running of this kingdom is that thing of you never know what merchandise of these figures and these characters are going to be in one of these shows or movies for a fraction of a second, and you go, why did they release that? So you never know. So I think we're generally with the main characters, I think we know they're going to be quite safe.
And I think that's going to be more of a risk for Rise of the Skywalker than The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian has so many episodes. So even if one of the characters doesn't show up in the first couple episodes, I do have a decent amount of faith that they might show up in the end. That's not a guarantee, though. We've definitely heard of characters who have had like major roles in television series that have just been completely cut because it didn't work within the pacing or whatever. And there isn't that same level of secrecy that we had with The Force Awakens, which is when there were a lot of sets where you're like, where did this snow speeder show up in? It's in the deleted scenes. Where's this droid character, this black R2 unit? Nowhere. Not anywhere.
Well, that's the thing, because I mean, I play the X-Wing miniatures game, and they had the Resistance bomber, and they also had the Kylo Ren's ship, his shuttle. And in the actual game, they play completely different than they did in the movie, because when they were designing them and all they had was an image art, like concept art. So like there was like the shuttle is so much more powerful than it was in the movie because you just never saw it. But nevertheless, it's one of those.
Having flashbacks to the Disney Infinity Force Awakens toy set where the ending is just like, what the heck is going on here? So,
they never got the end of the other half of the script. So here's some other bits and pieces from this past week. So Matthew Clave and Hunter Sampson have joined the Disney Plus original movie Safety. That's pretty much it. Those two guys have added on to that one. Modern Family co-creator Stephen Lafayette, I can't remember his name. He's one of the co-creators of Modern Family. He's signed a new $125 million deal with Disney's 21st Century Fox to make TV series, where he did actually say on the Hollywood Reporter podcast that he'll be developing it, whether it's for ABC, Hulu, FX, or Disney Plus. So there's definitely this kind of thing coming through of all these people they've signed up. Where these shows go, who knows? Also, if you are an annual pass holder at Walt Disney World or Disneyland, look for your emails or inboxes or your letterboxes, because you're now being offered that free and 2-year offer where you get $40 off a 3-year deal or $20 off a 2-year deal. So if you weren't a member of the Disney Visa Club, or maybe you're not a member of the Disney Movie Club, or you're not a D23 member, then that's coming for you. I really wish they'd kind of open that one up for everybody. I think that would have been a good thing. But they did actually open up official pre-orders for everybody this week. So if you go to Disney, or say everybody in the US,
there are people outside the US?
Yes, apparently so. I don't know if you are aware of this. I'm American, but
you've got an American flag in the background there,
yeah,
so I'm assuming you're American.
Well, someone did mention that. It's like, the only reason there's a US flag is my dad has a part, he likes collecting flags. And it's literally, I'm in a storage cupboard, and this is the biggest flag to cover up all the boxes behind me of plastic cups and things like that. So the only reason is it's just convenient. I did buy a big purple flag, but it's not big enough. So it was it's literally just it's covering up boxes. It's just unfortunately, yeah. So that was a comment from last week that I was like, Yeah, I will at least address like why I am in. Like, I
Yeah.
am literally in the store cupboard until my house gets built. My house is being built. Once it's done, I'll have nice new toys and stuff all around me.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah.
Anyway,
So you're an honorary American. As
yeah,
an American, I can deputize you,
yeah.
like the
Howdy,
Avengers scene.
folks.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. You're halfway there. Yeah. So not DVC. DVC is the only one that's been left out so far. That's the Disney Vacation Club. As far as I know, they haven't gotten the offer yet, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
they will. I'm sure
Yeah,
they will.
to me, it's just this kind of thing of really just going through their mailing lists. They're just going through. If you are signed up as something, you're going to get this offer. I think it probably should have gone out a little bit, but you can tell they're trying to spread it out. But yeah, the main pre-orders are open. So people are going, well, why is there any, what's the benefit? There isn't. You could do this on November the 11th and you'll be fine. If you're asking about the bundle with Hulu and ESPN Plus, that'll be launching on November the 12th. That has been confirmed, and I've also had that confirmed to me from sources within Disney as well. That's going to be available then. So if you want that bundle, that'll be the day to get it, which I definitely think is very popular. I mean, there might be some other bundles, but I think they're purely focusing right now on trying to make sure that it's simple and easy. But I don't think opening up the ways of getting people to sign up is a bad thing. It kind of eases off the server and gives them a chance to do it. There are obviously people going, can I download the app yet? Can I watch it yet? No. That was where the confusion came in with everyone having access in the Netherlands. It's really kind of muddled the waters a little bit. Like people are seeing people using it, like myself, and going, well, I want it to. It's like, yeah, you're just going to have to wait. Not long now. We're kind of getting close to it. A couple of other bits and pieces. There was kind of an interesting article actually over on the Hollywood Reporter about why the Netherlands did get it first. And also there was another article about why Europe is getting it a little bit later. And I kind of wanted to go into that a little bit as well. So why Netherlands got it first was they are a small country with about 17, 18 million people, with about 7 million households, but they're all very, very tightly together. They've all got extremely good internet. There's also a very high percentage of people with internet. It's much higher than in the US. And they've also got a very high percentage of people that subscribe to digital services. They're basically just an area full of people that are used to subscribing, having good internet, and are like the perfect test subjects to be guinea pigs for Disney. A lot of companies use them. Sometimes they go to Norway, sometimes, but it's a standard idea really that they use for this kind of closed environment to test the servers and to make sure everything's going right. They knew, for example, that they got an offices in Amsterdam as well. But I thought that was quite good, the fact that they went out and spoke to people of like why did they pick that? Because I mean, yeah, obviously a number of people kind of moaning about doing it in the Netherlands rather than in their country or in the US, and it's like, yeah, this was a reason, and having used Disney Plus as a trial, it's better that they're sorting stuff out now before the general public gets access to it, because there's things like I said, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes being missing. That's not good. That needs to be looked over. There seems to be a lot of issues that seem to be being fixed. Like, I don't know, I was watching some TV shows last night, and when they finished, they were then going back to the menu. It feels like things are changing as I'm using the app. Some of the things I was complaining about last week, I like the skip intro button. That is actually on a number of series, and it's coming up on them a bit more on my. So they are making adjustments. There are things happening on in the background from the feedback. I mean, if you go on to the Amazon or Google, reviews of people, they are on there answering people's questions and feedback. So I can feel the difference with the app within a week. That there are things changing in there. So that's definitely good news moving forward. Yeah.
Definitely good news. And this is, as you kind of alluded to, one of the reasons they do the trial is because once it goes live, they won't be able to do on-the-fly updates the way they can right now, because it will impact more people will notice, and more people will complain. We will get dedicated maintenance windows, just like we do with every other live service, but they will be fewer and farther between. So if there are problems, it will take longer to fix them unless they are major game-breaking bugs. That's just how software works once it goes live.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff seems to be doing at their end rather than on the app, because they've not really been prompted to update the app much at all. But yeah, so that's all good. There was also the kind of thing about like I said, about what's going on in Europe, and they were talking about this idea of, and I've mentioned this before, quotas. The European Union means that we have to have quotas in place. 30% of the content on any streaming service is going to have to be created within Europe. And that doesn't mean between the European Union, though. And I want to make that clear, obviously, with everything that's going on with Brexit. Anything made within Europe counts. So that if you're a part of it, even like Norway and the UK and all the rest of it, even if you're not a member of the EU, it would still count towards it because there's a different kind of body that came up with this contract rather than it being the European Union. So that's why, I think, a major reason why they're at Pinewood Studios, they just signed that big 10-year deal. Because if a load of movies get made here or parts of them get made here, they count towards that quota. They're apparently very short at the minute. I think it was only like 4 or 5% for Disney Plus. That's quite. I'm just going to bring up the article here because it was very interesting to see where they go. That's why they're making new content for like France and different areas, and they really want to kind of get on that of trying to make sure that they have this content in Europe, because Netflix have had this problem. Apple TV are really short, apparently, same thing as Disney, but it is one of their, and also Sky, issues of, apparently in Germany, one of the Disney channels is closing down in October. There's a lot of movement going around in Europe. And yeah, it's just, yeah, so it's the reason of why there was a lot of reasons why stuff has been delayed. Yeah, I still don't get some of it. I mean, to me, especially with the UK and Ireland, it's like you've got Disney Life. It would just make sense just to take Disney Life, put a new skin on it, change the logo, put the originals on there, and with what you've already got, and you could kind of get away with that and say like, oh, all the other stuff will be coming later. And you're like looking and going, well, you've already got a streaming service with more than actually that's on Disney Plus, except for some of the things. You put the originals on there, they're not come under the rules. You've already got it. Unless, I don't know, that's very odd. Still very odd that they're doing this.
I'm sure they have their reasons. I have no idea what they are, but I'm sure they have their reasons.
I can see why they might want to like reboot it from scratch and kind of get that whole thing out there and not like kind of connect it over. But it does seem very strange of like you've already got something, but yeah, I don't know. But let's move on now to just see what else we had this year. Oh yeah, Kevin Feige apparently is going to be producing a Star Wars movie. This kind of got everyone quite excited, but at the same time, I think all the Marvel fans are going, what's he doing? No, concentrate on one thing. But I think actually, to be honest, I think from his point of view, I'd imagine he would quite like to have some new creative outlet for something a bit different than a superhero. I imagine this would be quite good for him to kind of have something fresh to get his eyes on. You think how much he's got to put into.
I mean, on the other hand, the Marvel Universe has been increasingly cosmic in the last couple of years. Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, to a certain degree, and Avengers Endgame. So, yeah, it's not that much of a branch out for him at the moment. No. But we'll see. And like you said, it's very good as a writer or a creative person to get outside of what you're doing, because you can kind of get into a rut, you can get into a funk, you can not really have much perspective on how things are going, and doing something different kind of breaks it up. And that goes for both the writers and also the actors. That's why we do love to see the staples of the Marvel Universe, the actors, going out and doing other movies as well, because it gives them more experiences and more.
Yeah, this is. I mean, everybody was going nuts over the fact because apparently he's already got an idea of who he wants to involve in a movie in terms of Star Wars, which then just brought out everybody about Brie Larson, about him wanting to bring her in, and it's like, and that just brought the internet up. She then even tweeted out an image of her dressed as a Jedi with C-3PO, which then got everybody else. And even then, Chris Evans even tweeted in about the fact of wanting to be in it. And of course, it's just got everyone now excited because everyone's now looking at everything. Of course, it's one of those really weird things of like, I'll be honest, I don't get the Brie Larson hate thing. I don't understand it. I mean, I see it all the time. I don't get it, I'm just being honest. And it was just like, okay, it's like everyone just like really just caught up at the fact of like being able to bring Brie Larson like clickbait awful articles into Star Wars universe. It's just like, oh, really? Like, it just seemed like such a stretch to kind of get into that straight away.
I'd have no problem with her being a Jedi or a Sith or any of that stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, while I'm not on social media at all, so I
yeah,
miss a lot of this nonsense. Sometimes I'll catch it on Reddit
yeah,
or on my news feed, but I actually had no idea about the Brie Larson thing at all. I
yeah.
know that people don't like her for some reason, or they have negative opinions about her as Captain Marvel. Whatever, you can have whatever opinion you want. I thought she was fine.
Yeah.
She did perfectly well in the role. The biggest concerns I had with the character were that she was going to be overpowered, which has nothing to do with Brie Larson. That was just the character. They did fine. I know there was some controversy about people saying that the other actors didn't like her, but no one ever has put
Yeah.
proof. So whatever. The entire thing's ridiculous.
There's been some really weird ones about the fact of like them saying they've been pushing Iron Man rather than Captain Marvel because of the backlash to her and like in the Disney Plus adverts. And it's like, no, it's a different advert. They use different character because Iron Man's extremely popular. I was just like, you're really stretching at this point of like just trying to create a problem and it's like, and again, sometimes not being on social media probably would be for the best for some of these kind of things. You're going, really? There's some number of things that sometimes you're just shaking your head. But nevertheless, last couple of things. Apparently, there's a new series called Dino Ranch being created for Disney Junior. So they're working on like distribution and stuff like that. I got to think now that if they're signing a new contract for Disney Junior for TV shows, streaming rights are going to be part of that contract without a question of a doubt.
I mean, why would it go to anybody else?
Yeah.
Someone would have to offer a crazy amount of money to Disney for them to be like, oh no, we'll put this on Netflix because they gave us a lot of money. It'd be like, I can't see that happening ever.
No.
And if somebody was willing to put that amount of money into buying a Disney right off of Disney,
no, this is like this weird thing of like Disney and again, this is what they're doing. They're going out and buying up TV series from producers and stuff. So like this thing, Dino Ranch, is being created by Boat Rocker Studios, and so this is where again this kind of thing of they're going out and buying stuff. So then they are a Canadian company apparently. Looking at this one here, which they're going to be, and it's like, but this actually fits into what I was just saying about quotas because Canada's got a quota as well. They need the quickest way for Disney to get around these quotas is to get content being made in these countries, and also it just helps with just in general just boosting out what they've got. But so that's a new animated series that's going to be coming soon, and yeah, that kind of I think. National Geographic signed a new deal with the people that created Free Solo. They've got a new first look deal for a few years. So that rounds up the news. We've got two trailers that we need to discuss. So first off, let's do the fun one. So let's do Spies in the Skies, the new Fox movie coming out on Christmas Day. Now I want to put this over to you so you understand what's going to go happen in this one. This is a Fox movie, so I am pretty sure that it's going to come under the HBO deal. So that means then it's going to have to go to HBO for like 18 months after it's been out on Blu-ray, etc., before it can be opened up to anybody else. So it could be 2 to 3 years after it's released before it gets Disney Plus, unless they make some deals, or maybe they go, actually, no, this is not a Fox movie, so it's not going there. Don't know. So it could be a few years from there, but you watch this trailer and go, this is a Disney Plus movie written all over it, that it'll eventually be on there. But what did you think? Did you watch that trailer?
I did watch the trailer, and it gave us a lot more details because we talked about this a long time ago, around this time last year, actually, because I think that's when the teaser came out. So we got details. We know more about what the plot is. We know more about what the objective is, how these two get teamed up together, Tom Holland and Will Smith. Got to see some more of the action. Got to see some of the jokes. Hopefully not all the jokes, which is sometimes a risk with trailers. But all things considered, it looked pretty fun. I have to admit, it might not be a movie that I would normally go out and say, okay, I have to go and see this in theaters. but it's based on what I've seen so far. It is definitely something I'll pick it up out of Redbox, or I'll rent it off of Amazon for $5, or now I will see it on Disney Plus if it does indeed come to Disney Plus, and like you, I assume it will.
I have got. You just mentioned something there, which just reminded me of something I was going to mention: renting. So yesterday afternoon, me and my wife were going, right, we want to watch a movie. So we're like, okay. So I wanted to watch Bohemian Rhapsody, or my wife did. Wasn't available to rent. Then we wanted to watch the Rocket Man. Wasn't available to rent. I then was like, shall we watch Bumblebee? Been wanting to watch that one. Wasn't available to rent. And it wasn't available on Amazon, wasn't available on PlayStation. It was like, we went through like nearly 4 movies that we wanted to watch, and none of them were available to rent. And we're like going, okay, it's like, it was like really weird of going, I was like, it almost feels like now that rental period has really been reduced on digital. It was just very strange of like 4 movies we wanted to watch. None of them were available to rent. And I don't know if they're just about to go on the streaming services or whatever it is, but it was like, why aren't these available? It was like really strange. I just wanted to bring that in because I don't know if these streaming services are having an impact on like the rental side of things, but you could buy them, but you couldn't rent them. I don't know if it's maybe the window of opportunity for renting has been closed, that they don't. You would think that they would just, once it's been out to buy, you would be able to rent it forever. But no, we definitely seem to be closing that loop down.
Yeah, and I think actually as we move forward, renting in general will kind of move out of the way by the wayside, at least digitally, because there's no incentive for these companies, Amazon included, to offer rentals of digital copies. They want you to buy it. Now, Redbox here in the States, I think, will stay in business for quite a while because that idea of I went to the grocery store, I picked up my stuff. Oh, there's a Redbox. Okay, I'm going to rent Frozen or whatever because you got that impulse moment going on. But I'm just looking at Amazon here, and I assume that there are regional differences because you're doing it in the UK, I'm doing it in the States. Bohemian Rhapsody, I can't rent it. I can buy it. But if I have an HBO trial through Amazon, so not HBO on my home set-top, but an HBO, I can watch it through that. Rocket Man's available for rent and purchase. And so I can rent that, but you can't apparently rent that. So there is a certain regional difference. But, yeah, I can't rent Bohemian Rhapsody straight up. So, but sometimes – it's weird because I'll still get offers in my email where it's like, hey, this weekend we're offering to rent this for just $3 or that for just $2. I'm like, okay, cool. And sometimes
I do that a lot with Amazon's. I do that a lot with
not constantly, but
renting stuff. But it was just it was just like a really weird thing of going. It was the fact that it was movie after movie after movie that we were trying to do it for, and it got to the point of we had to find a movie on Netflix to watch because nothing. All the 4 and 5 movies we wanted to watch, none of them were available to rent, and it was like, my wife goes, "Well, do we have to sign up for like Sky Cinema because they've got it?" Like, no, I don't want to sign up for them. I've already got enough subscription packages. But yeah, things like that. It was just really annoying. But nevertheless, back to what I was talking about was that Spies in Disguise. I thought it looks good. It's a solid movie. It's, again, something I would wait till that came later. I'm really hoping that Disney do something with this Blue Sky Studios. I just feel like they've either got to go in on it or they've got to abandon it. They've either got to let it be like Pixar or it's just going to flip and flop and die off. But then it's starting to go, what was the point of buying Fox if you're just not releasing anything under them?
See, I could see them becoming more of the direct-to-video branch of the Disney animated stuff. And I'm not talking about like the 1990s, early 2000s sequel after sequel after sequel for movies that did
Cinderella
not sequels.
3.
Exactly. The Little Mermaid 2 and all that. Not like that. Continuing to do stuff like Spies in Disguise or some of their older movies. Maybe a slightly smaller budget, but still original content for Disney Plus or perhaps the Disney channels, so that you don't have to worry about will they make money at the box office or not, because that's always the big challenge is making your money back at the box office. If you take that out of the equation, you get a lot more freedom. So I could see that, in addition to the Pixar shorts and the training programs which we've talked about in the past. But this could be like the feature length version of that. I think there's a spot for it. Whether or not Disney thinks that there's a spot for it,
I mean, to me, I look at it and go, well, you could have a third pillar here. You could turn it in once they start having creative control, because now they've put a load of guys from Pixar and Disney in charge of the company. Call it Disney's Blue Sky, Disney/Blue Sky Studios, like they do with Pixar, and just start churning out a movie a year, and that could help just in general give them an extra animated movie, all that extra merchandise, all the rest of it, almost turn it into that third pillar, unless it goes down the Disney like Toon Studios where it just flips and eventually just drops off. But yeah, so Spies and Skies, I did like the look of it. It definitely looks fun. You got Will Smith and Tom Holland messing about and he becomes a pigeon. I mean, it's a fun kids movie, and that's ultimately what it is. And I think that's the trouble with Blue Sky Studios. They're a little bit more kids movie rather than being like a Pixar where they appeal to adults. But that one looked good. And then we got another animation. We got Frozen 2's trailer, which broke on Monday. That was a big thing. Okay, I'm really struggling to feel excited about Frozen 2 at all. That trailer did not work for me at all. I don't know how you felt.
I thought it was fine. It didn't get me super excited for it, but I did like that we got more of an idea of what the plot is going to be. Again, we didn't really know what was going on from the previous trailers. We've got kind of an idea of this story of a magic kingdom where the magic turns against them and they get isolated, and now Elsa's being drawn to it. And there's potential in that story.
Yeah.
And I can see kind of a couple different ways they can go with it. So I do want to see how it turns out. I want to see what the heck is going on with these water horses. I mean, that whole thing was still weird, but I'm not super excited for it. I'm not like in the I finally get more Frozen. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good movie.
Yeah.
And regardless of the fact that it's already going to make $1 billion simply because it's Frozen 2 and everyone is going to drag their dad to go and see it with them or whatever, I think it will at least be a satisfying movie. Now, will they strike gold twice in terms of like lasting people loving the movie for years and years? It seems a little less likely, but I think it will do what it needs to do, which is tell another Frozen story.
Yeah, it's really hard with this one because I think it's going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to have a much bigger opening weekend because now so many more people are aware of it. Because when it came out the first time, it needed to build on this. It needed to build that love into it, and it's already done that. But then there's also that thing as well of like Frozen fatigue. I think it kind of. A lot of people got bored of it because it was being played so much, especially in their households. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. The trailer, like I said, there's parts of it I liked. It just didn't really, I don't know what it was. I sort of watched it and goes, okay, this looks good. I'll go watch it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I don't know, it needed more Olaf. It needed more. That's the thing for me. The more Olaf, the better. The last bit at the end with him running around screaming, that's what I needed. When I think of like Olaf's Adventure and Frozen Fever and all the rest of it, that's what I like. I like more Olaf in a movie than less.
I like Olaf. He had some of the best one-liners in Frozen. The whole like, I've been impaled and I have no bones and that kind of thing. Those were great lines. But I'm not super keen on a lot of Olaf because I think he works very well in small doses.
Yeah.
He works as that kind of character who's in the background, and then all of a sudden he has a funny one-liner, or he has an important part to play in the plot, or But him being the focus doesn't work for me. Like the whole Frozen Christmas special last year or 2 years ago.
I love that.
I enjoyed it, but I was definitely like, I'm not watching Frozen for Olaf, and I'm not super into this. So once I watched it, I was done with it. I never watched it a second time. I might watch it on Disney Plus as like I've got 10 minutes to kill. Or 20 minutes to kill. Let's watch the Christmas special.
Yeah,
But,
I only watched it recently again because it came up on Disney Live as like the new one. But then I go back to like Frozen. You think of how they started that, promoting that thing with Sven and Olaf on that frozen lake. That was the whole way they promoted Frozen to get going. That was like before they even released the movie. That was like he was the main character and all the rest of it. So I don't know if it just seems very serious. There doesn't seem to be a lot of comedy in that trailer. It's very dark, very, and it could be. And I'm going to be honest. The trailer could be sending me in a completely wrong direction. It's probably going to be awesome, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm definitely looking forward to it much more than Maleficent 2. But the trailer didn't hit for me because it didn't have much comedy, and that's what I'm looking for from Frozen, rather than the dark, brooding parents things of being Batman. I didn't really, that's just for me personally. The movie could go in a completely different way, but that trailer didn't hit what I was hoping for from Frozen.
yeah, I can see that. I hadn't thought about that at all, but I can definitely see that from both that trailer and the previous trailer, which opened with Elsa trying to get past the waves, which we now know is about the seahorses. That whole thing was like very dark. A lot of black colors. It's at night. Very confusing imaging and stuff like that, intentionally so. So I can see where you're coming from with that. There definitely was not a lot of comedy in any of the trailers that we've seen. So, but I have to imagine, it is Frozen. It is Disney. You've got a lot of actors in there who have a background with comedy. So even if they're not advertising, I do fully expect that there's going to be quite a bit of
it just I think that's the thing. The tone is, but I mean, look back to what they did with Cars 3. Of the tone of that trailer of going, he's nearly basically died, and it's like everyone's going, it's going to be a dark Cars. You watch Cars 3. No, it wasn't dark. It was they edited the trailer to be very manipulative. But I don't know. We're going to have to wait. We're only about 2 months away from it.
A manipulative trailer? What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know. But no, so that's kind of I don't know. It's going to be interesting to know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments below and stuff about the trailers. Are you on board with all of that and stuff, and what you thought? But yeah, it was a bit of an odd one. I'd like to say maybe that's why I songs and comedy is what I associate with Frozen, and this the story's not giving me that. The trailers aren't giving me that part of Frozen and what I like about it. So that's probably why it just isn't quite hitting that point. But yeah, nevertheless,
it needs more of the random shopkeeper who was out in the middle of nowhere. Him. It needs more of him. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think it'd be interesting to see where they go forward. But it's also, we're into like the main bit now. We've got I'm just trying to think what movies we've got left. We've got Maleficent 2, Ford versus Ferrari. We've then got Frozen 2, Star Wars, Spies in Disguise, and Jojo Rabbit from Fox Searchlight, I think, and also Lucy in the Sky. But those are like R-rated ones. So
I didn't realize Jojo was Fox, not to be confused with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is a completely different JoJo, but based on the trailers, equally insane. I don't think we're going to talk about that one on the show because it's going to be
the thing is, it's only a PG-13, and if that thing gets some Oscar buzz,
it's got Hitler as his imaginary friend.
Yeah, I mean they took Avengers and Babysitting off Disney Plus. There's an F-bomb in it. So, but they've got because I was wondering this, but there is actually a Drain the Oceans special on Nazi boats. So they aren't afraid of, because I was wondering if there was going to be like nothing in there, but that one is on Disney Plus. So, I mean, this thing with JoJo. I mean, there's like Disney are apparently understandably a little bit nervous about this thing of like, and there's a lot of talk about this would have never get greenlit by them now, but I don't know. Bob Iger he's been sort of quite often kind of saying, because they were on about like all these Fox bombs and stuff, and he goes, they would have bombed without us anyway. So like, why are you bothering us? It's like, we didn't make them. We just got love with them.
I always kind of laugh when people are like, "Oh, this would never be made by Disney." It's like, yeah, do you look at some of their back catalog items? I mean, not obviously we're not. Yeah, they're not going to turn JoJo into the next Disney princess. No,
Yeah.
but you look at some of the stuff. It might not come out with the Disney
Mhm.
name, but they've got some pretty hard R movies in their past that they can draw upon, and
Mm.
there are movies that are weirder than what we've
Mm.
seen from JoJo so far.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but
I think
either
the thing is, yeah.
way. Sorry, since you mentioned the water, the boats one, that's in National Geographic's like hunting for shipwrecks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a very big difference between acknowledging that there were in fact at one point Nazis and they had ships and U-boats in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean and the Baltic and all that, and having a movie where Hitler is your imaginary friend. So I can kind of see the change up there.
It's going to be difficult. I think the trouble is, this is where it's difficult going forward for Disney with like the Fox brand and what they're doing with the movies, of trying to work out where everything fits. And what I think the big question is going to be on of what they do with that brand. Does Fox Searchlight, do they drop the Fox branding? Because, that anything connected to Fox is still being linked to Fox News. Are they going to start moving away from that? Are they going to continue to use 21st Century Fox as a branding? And they've said yes. But if the movies keep failing, there might be less inclined. They wanted to get in on more adult-oriented content and the Oscar buzz and all the rest of it. But they don't want it under the Disney branding. But, of course, now people are much more aware of this. I mean, it's like, for example, Spies in Disguise was being promoted through Walt Disney Studios and through Disney's own social medias. They were tweeting out the trailer and all the rest of it. Same thing they did with Dark Phoenix and that dog movie and Ad Astra. They've been doing that, but they might not do that necessarily on a movie which is R-rated. You've got that. It's like a horror movie coming up that Fox are releasing, and they're going to have to find that fine line of where they do with things. And it's going to take a bit of time for them to work out what they're doing with Fox, but it's going to take 2 years, and it's only been 5 months.
Has it been that long?
Well, they signed April, wasn't it? It was done.
Yeah, but we were talking about it for more than a year before they even signed it. So it hasn't actually been that long, but it feels like it's been a long time because we've known it's coming and coming, and they announced it's coming, but it hasn't been signed, and they got to negotiate out deals. And I feel like we've been talking about it ever since I started on the Diz Kingdom podcast with you. Like, so many.
Well, it was like, now, so. Well, it was. I mean, it was like maybe 2 years before the build up, but it's in there now, and hopefully we'll find out what's going on. But nevertheless, I think that pretty much is going to wrap up this week's episode. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think of Frozen trailer, the Spies in Disguise trailer, and also Spider-Man deal. That's always the big one going forward. Go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can like us on Facebook on our page, find us on Twitter, and join our Facebook group. Just hit over 30,000 members this week, so that's great for everyone joining in over there, joining in the discussion, etc. And on that note, we shall see you guys in another episode. Laters.